Hi, hello, I'm Sam Harrison. I read, review and discuss fantasy and science fiction books. And today we're going to go through the September wrap-up. So what we're going to talk about is the stats for September, the books for September, the best performing content, worst performing content. And now that I've monetized the channel, we're also going to talk about how much I've made from YouTube ads in September. And finally, we're going to have a little bit of a chat about what's coming up on the channel, so things that you can expect next week and beyond. We have some slight changes to schedules, so I'll go through those towards the end. First up, let's talk books. So I finished 8 books in September, which is pretty cool. I think it's the most I finished in a single month this year. There is one series that is kind of responsible for this, and we'll go through that when we get to it. But I did also start the first 2 books that I finished in September. Technically, I finished on like the 1st and 2nd of September, and I read most of them the month before. But let's go straight into things, and I will talk to you guys about the books that I have read in September. So I started the month with Soulstealer by Elle McInerney. I got it right like every time that I've talked about it on the channel, and purely because I've edited it for the times when I've got it wrong. So Soulstealer by Elle McInerney. This one was a 4 out of 5. This was a really, really excellent experience, and I actually did interview Elle on the channel, and that interview's up if you wanted to watch it. The review for this book is also up. I had a fantastic time reading this one. It is a kind of queer normative fantasy story. It's not grimdark, but it has like a twinge of realism to it. The characters feel very real, which I think is one of the most important parts. Basically, we follow 3 different characters, one of whom is a woman in a tribe that's kind of sealed itself off from the world and sealed itself off from magic, who is hiding a dark secret. The other is a man who is over 200 years old and has the memory of all of his dead relatives inside of him, keeping him younger and alive and whatnot. And finally, we have a priestess who used to be a sex worker and escaped that by infiltrating the priesthood on behalf of a local mobster. So really interesting stories. And then on top of that, we've got that the enemy, the kind of demonic horde or what have you that destroyed the world a few hundred years ago is coming back and is aiming to destroy the world again, it seems. This is the first book in a series called The Unraveling. So if you are interested in reading that one, there'll be a link to get yourself a copy down in the description below. It's on Kindle Unlimited. So and in fact, every single book that I'm talking about this month is on Kindle Unlimited. So if you want a fantastic month of reading like I've had, then get yourself Kindle Unlimited and just read all these books. So because I've got 8 books, I cannot spend, 5 minutes talking about each one as we go through, as I have done in the past. So let's move straight on to the first book in the Debt Collection by Andrew Givler, which is called Soulstealer. So the concept of Soulstealer is pretty simple. The main character, Matthew Carver, is having a pretty crappy life, and he's out avoiding his friends on his birthday because his family died on his birthday a couple of years before, and he decides to go to the cinema, and in the cinema he's approached by a demon. He's got a tail, he's got goat's legs, he's got furry horns, he's got everything, and this demon says to him, "I'm going to buy your soul and I've got a pretty sweet deal for you." And Matthew, despite being very depressed, is like, "No, I'm not going to do that." And the demon's like, "Oh well, screw it," and he just forges his signature because he needs the numbers. But he doesn't realize that Matthew is, tenacious, and isn't going to take this lying down. So even though he gets this kind of sweetheart soul deal, he starts kind of trying to chase this demon down, trying to catch him and try to like get the deal reversed because he didn't actually sell his soul. So he kind of comes into contact with the supernatural world. So it's an urban fantasy. I would highly recommend it for fans of the Dresden Files. And I think that the way that the story expands from kind of the initial soul stealing to where it ends up at the end of the first book, it is really smart. But then the steps that have come in the following 2 books, which I've also read this month, and that this series is the reason why my numbers are so high. I really enjoyed all of these books, and I think that those 2, in the second 2, are not as good as the first. The first is still my favourite, but I did really enjoy them all. We'll talk more about those a little bit later because we're going in reading order. The next book that I read was Eyes of Empire by JCM Byrne. You know about this one already, guys. This is the 5th book in the Hybrid Helix series, which is a superhero sci-fi. It is basically, it's heavily inspired by Invincible, and it also has big Babylon 5 vibes. So if either of those science fiction stories are something that you really enjoy, then I would highly recommend going and finding those. The next thing that I ended up reading, I forgot to say, the Eyes of Empire was a 5-star. This was the only, it was one of 2 5-stars this month, but I think that Eyes of Empire is probably going to be my book of the month. I really enjoyed both, and I absolutely mowed through the other 5-star book for this month. But I don't know. It's difficult. Let's talk about it anyway. So, by the way, reviews for all of the books up to Eyes of Empire and all the novellas that I read this month are available on the channel if you want to watch them. Silence is Silver is up next, and Silence is Silver is the novella in Andrew Watson's Shadowbinders world. It's like a prequel, sidequel, reader magnet for Harbinger of Justice, the Shadowbinders, as mentioned previously, written by Andrew Watson. This covers the kind of origin of a side character from Harbinger of Justice. This one did not blow my socks off. It ended up being a 3 out of 5. I thought that the book was good, but didn't think it really played to Andrew's strengths. I felt like the pacing maybe didn't really run. It being a novella, obviously you've got a lot less time and a lot less page count. And I think that Andrew probably is better at novels than novellas. I think his writing style just suits novels better. After that, I read A Princess of Uldir, which was also a 3 out of 5. This is also a novel and reader magnet. This is for the Power of the Stars series by Brian Wilson. I thought this book was okay. This one, again, I said it was also a 3-star. The problem with this one was that I didn't really feel like I got attached to any of the characters, and the scope is a little too small, I think. I don't know. It's really difficult to quantify for me exactly why this one didn't blow my socks off. Possibly this could be because it's actually just better not as a reader magnet. It's better read as part of the Power of the Stars series. I will be reading Power of the Stars. It's on my TBR. Really looking forward to getting to that. But for now, what I'm going to do is put that one off for a bit and come back to it at some point in the future. So probably next year at this point, because there's only 2 and a bit months of, like, it's October, November, December. Technically, we've got 3 months left of this year, but Wind and Truth is probably going to take up 1 to 2 weeks of December. Then there's like a ton of Christmas stuff going around. I've got 2 kids, so there's a lot more Christmas activities than if I didn't have kids. And so I'm not confident on starting any new series this year. I kind of want to continue on and wrap up some stuff more than anything. Though I think I'm going to start doing randomized TBRs, where I just get a whole spreadsheet of like series that I'm reading and like the next book in that series, and then just let like a random number game draw the winners for me. I think that could be fun, and I think it takes a little bit of the onus off of me for planning stuff, because weirdly with planning stuff, so like I often will get kind of distracted by new and shiny things and forget to go back and finish series that I've put lots of time into. So like Sun Eater, I've read 3 books, 2 short story collections, 2 novellas, and then it's been like a couple of months since I touched the last Sun Eater book that I read. I own 2 more of those books. They're literally on the shelf in front of me right now. And it took me like 6 or 7 months to get to Return to Adan, and that book is incredible. You know, when I started reading before I did BookTube, I used to just binge read series. So for example, the Greenbone Saga, I just read all 3 books back to back. I binge read the entire Dresden Files series in like 2 or 3 months. And for me, I think that might be a better way to read. I do enjoy binge watching TV as well. But I don't want to just be like, I'm going to be talking about Stephen King for the next 3 months. Or like, I'm only going to read Red Rising books for 2 months. That's not fun for you guys as an audience. So yeah, randomizing the TBR might mean that some series by pure chance get left on the wayside, and I'll obviously give myself license to read new releases. I'll give myself license to be like, actually, I don't feel like reading the Crimson Campaign this month. I'm going to read Combat Codes, for example. Both of those are on the shelf and I've had them for months, so maybe I should get to those. Anyway, we were talking about books, and we were talking about Dandelion Audit, which is the 2nd book in the Deck collection by Andrew Givler. This one was also 4 stars. If I gave half stars, I'd probably have given Soul Fraud a 4.5 star, and then Dandelion Audit and the 3rd book, Star Summit, 4 stars. I don't know why why Soul Fraud hit me so hard. I think possibly because I was not expecting to love it as much as I did. And as you guys know, the Dresden Files is one of my favourite series of all time, and this series is very reminiscent of the Dresden Files. I kind of wasn't expecting that. I mean, I'd seen the covers, and obviously it's the same cover artist as the Dresden Files, but he does a lot of covers, including Hybrid Helix, which does not feel like Dresden. Actually, Hybrid Helix is kind of Dresden-y too. Anyway, Dandelion Audit is basically the main character, Matt Carver, and his buds go into the world of the Fae, and it's a book which is more focused on like manipulation and politics and backstabbing and assassinations rather than, so there's still a lot of like action, but it's not like all out brawls in the street, you know. It's a bit different, and I really liked the political and the, you know, the manipulation and stuff like that. I actually ended up finishing reading this one on like a 2-hour walk, or just listening to it on the audiobook, and I had kind of guessed a couple of the reveals in the book, which may be what there's like a couple of big reveals, and I kind of guessed those, but I don't think the book is intending to be surprising or thrill. I don't know. I'm talking about this quite negatively, but I love the reading experience, and especially I would like to recommend the audiobooks. They're narrated by Matthew Moeller, I believe. He's narrated all 3 I've listened to. I've read maybe 30% of Soul Fraud, and I audiobooked the whole of Dandelion Audit and the whole of Star Summit. I literally didn't even crack the book open because the audiobooks are so good. So if you are interested in urban fantasy, you're looking for a replacement for the Dresden Files, and you want some good audiobooks, the Deck collection is for you. Next up, we have... Oh, Star Summit was the next book I actually finished after that. So Star Summit, this one deals much more with a character called Orion, who is one of the main cast. And this kind of goes more into his backstory and kind of the constellations and that sort of stuff. So that I would really recommend again for fans of the Dresden Files. And this one is back on Earth again, but we're dealing with some really powerful and interesting characters. And the final action sequence is genuinely amazing. Loved it. So yeah, another 4 out of 5, another excellent book. Just read the series. Honestly, it is just great. I really enjoyed it. So next up, after that, I finished New York Minute by Stephen Aryan. This was a 5 out of 5 for me. This is the other 5 out of 5. This one was a novella. It is a noir thriller set in an alternate New York. And I would even maybe not say alternate New York. I would say an other New York. And you'll find out more about it when you read it. Basically, the main character is a private detective, ex-cop, who is recruited by a mob boss to find his missing daughter, and things just kind of get worse and worse and go further and further downhill from there. It's a really, really good noir story, so if you like that sort of thing, I would absolutely really recommend you check it out. Really enjoyed this one. It's not kind of trying to rewrite the book. It's not reinventing the wheel when it comes to noir fiction and kind of SFF noir fiction, but I just had a great time with it. It was what felt like to me, and I don't want to invoke Dresden Files all the time, but it felt like a mix between the Dresden books and Stephen King's Bill Hodges trilogy. So if you like either of those things, I would highly recommend it. It is extremely low fantasy. It is more... It's kind of a noir thriller set in a fantastical world, though the story does not have many fantastical elements. It's really interesting world building. Really like the main characters, Cole and Bracken, and I liked the mystery. I kind of sort of guessed what was going to happen, but I didn't know the whole shebang. It was just a great time, and the action was very kinetic and enjoyable. So if that's the sort of thing you're into, then I would highly recommend New York Minute. And again, all of these books are on Kindle Unlimited. So if you've got Kindle Unlimited, they're all there. And in fact, some of them are free even if you don't have Kindle Unlimited, like Silence is Silver and A Princess of Aldir. Both can be read standalone, both can be read just by signing up to the author's newsletter. I wanted to talk a little bit about a book that I started about halfway through the month and have been reading very slowly, which is Return to Adan. So Return to Adan is a book that I think is genuinely fantastic. I will be shocked if when I'm finished with this, I don't think it is the best book in the series. It is absolutely nothing like what I was expecting. And I'm really, really looking forward to talking to you guys more about this one. Might have to do a spoiler discussion about this book after the fact. Maybe I'll see if somebody else who's read the book, or Philip even, is available to do a full spoiler chat on the series, but primarily Return to Adan because I think it's such an interesting book. I would highly recommend this. Obviously, you do have to have read the previous two books. This relies heavily on them. It's not standalone in any way, but genuinely really enjoying this book. My motivation to read has actually been quite low this month. One of the reasons I was able to get through 3 deck collection books, but it's taken me like over 2 weeks to get more than halfway in this book, is purely because I have had lots of time to audiobook while driving, but I've not really had much sit down and read time, and because this is not available as an audiobook, it's taken me a lot longer to read. Most books nowadays I do tend to tandem audiobook and sight read. So for example, the Wheel of Time books, I always buy them on Kindle and Audible, and I will just switch between the two formats, and then sometimes my physical copy if I want to. And that enables me to read 1,000-page book in 7 days, you know. But for the last week or so, I've just had a lot less free time, weirdly. But on top of that, Bake Off has started in the UK, which is something my wife and I watch. And I only really have like 2 hours of free time in the evenings. And now 90 minutes of that is Bake Off time. And then we're also watching Agatha All Along from Marvel on Disney Plus, which again is like another whole evening gone, or mostly gone. So my sight reading time has been massively reduced. I'm actually much further on from here. I'm like 6 more chapters on because I've been reading a lot via the audiobook. But yeah, I'm over halfway, but been reading quite slowly. Been reading basically a chapter a day, or a couple of chapters some days. But I will finish this pretty soon. After I've read this one, I'm going to be reading A Dirge for Cascius, which is also an indie book. It's also got no audiobook. So don't know how that'll go, but I will be reading that one next. Then after that, I'm going to go straight back to the Wheel of Time. So I am now behind again. I'm a month behind on books. So I should have read Path of Daggers last month, but I just couldn't get to it. I was just took too long to read Return of Idan, and it was always going to be the last book I read in the month, and I just didn't even get to Dirge of Cascius. Nothing bad on Return of Idan's fault. I would be shocked if that is not a 5 out of 5 and in contention for my top books of the year, based on the half of it that I've read. But yeah, Return to Idan, I need to get, not Return to Idan, Wheel of Time, I need to get back to. I am considering, if I do not burn out a bit on Path of Daggers, I'm considering back-to-backing. So reading 2 Wheel of Time books, one after the other. The next book is the shortest book in the Wheel of Time apart from New Spring. And the one after that is also quite short. So I'm tempted to try and read those 2 back-to-back because they will have audiobooks. I love the series, and that would then get me back on track for reading book 10 in November, and then New Spring in November as well, possibly. The other thing is, I promised you guys that I would read books that you submitted, and I'm going to do that after I read those 2 Wheel of Time books. So I may throw a novella in between the 2 Wheel of Time books to give myself a bit of a break, like Orbital by Samantha Harvey. I picked that up in the 99p Kindle sale. That is a sci-fi, that is a short novel. Well, it is a novella. They say novel, but it's like 100 pages. It's a novella. But that is one I might be reading between those 2 books. One other thing I wanted to address while we are on the topic of books is I got my first ever physical review copy from a major publisher. I got Christopher Golden's The House of Last Resort from Titan Books. I read a Christopher Golden book when I was a teenager. It was a Buffy tie-in book starring Spike and Drusilla, set during World War II, and it was called Pretty Maids All in a Row, and I loved that book. Absolutely loved it. So when I saw Christopher Golden's name on the review copies site, I instantly messaged in to say I'd like a copy, and they sent it out. So I don't know when I'll get to this one. It's not massively long, 300 pages, and the print is nowhere near Wheel of Time size. So maybe I will try and get to this in November. I mean, it might be a decent one to read between Wheel of Time books, but let me read you the description on the back to see whether you think you might be interested. Moving to the half-ruined Italian town of Becchina feels like a romantic adventure for American couple Tommy and Kate Puglisi. But from the moment they move in, they feel a shadow has fallen on them. Their home was owned for generations by the church, but the real secret is what the priests did in the house all those years, and how many people died in the strange chapel inside. While down in the catacombs beneath Becchina, something stirs. A horror-filled tale of crumbling catacombs and the darkest family secrets, set in the picturesque hills of Sicily, from the acclaimed author of Road of Bones and All Hallows. So this got one of Esquire's best horror books of the year for 2024, or possibly last year, because this is a paperback, so it might have come out last year. I don't know whether it's published originally in paperback. I've not done any research, I'm sorry. But I'm interested in reading it because I like Christopher Golden and the concept sounded really fun. I would like to read more horror as well. I'm never going to be like, I'm Sam Harrison, I read fantasy, science fiction and horror. But I would like to read more horror. I'd like to read more historical fiction as well. Maybe add some of that. Along with, I'd love to read a couple of crime thrillers next year. Maybe we'll have like a crime thriller month. Don't know if anyone's interested in that. So let's talk about channel stuff. So got the old tabletto here, got the iPad. So we got 6K views in September, which is actually a bit of a downward turn from August. However, August was a very strong month. Also managed to get 514 watch hours, which again is quite low for me at the moment. September's been a bit of a weirdly down month. I would have to say, unfortunately, it's probably due to the fact that I was reading almost all indie books. Indie books just have a smaller audience. The audience is much more passionate, but you know, there are less people searching for Soul Stealer by Elle McInerney than are searching for The Wheel of Time. That is unfortunately a fact. I don't know why I was trying to search for the word fact. That is a fact. However, we are back onto soon Wheel of Time stuff, so maybe the channel will grow again in October. We've had a couple of very poor subscriber growth weeks, which is weird because I had 1 week where I got like 100 subs in a week, which is the most I've ever got in a week. But yeah, so we actually got 174 subs in September, and that, as you may be aware, took us over the 1,000 line. When you have 1,000 subs, and you've also had 4,000 watch hours, I hit the watch hours months ago. When you have 1,000 subs, YouTube will pay you money for the ads that your viewers are already watching. So if you guys watch my videos, you've probably seen ads, unless you have YouTube Premium. Up until now, I didn't see a penny of the money if you watch that ad. Now, I do see a penny of that, literally a penny most of the time for like every 100 views or whatever. So going to the money zone, last month I earned on YouTube £11.70, which is pretty fucking cool because I would have been making those videos anyway. This is literally just going to be offsetting the costs for running the channel. So I in fact paid more than I earned just to have Canva last month. I did also get sponsored by Your Paper Quest. You guys will have seen the adverts and the interview that I had with Ryan, the founder. I am actually in the process of hopefully getting another chat booked in with them. I'd really like to talk to their head curator about how he curates books. I think that would be a really interesting video. If you guys would be interested in watching that, please do let me know, and I will actually email them to try and get it organized, because it's mostly at the idea stage right now. I can't tell you guys how much I got from my sponsorship with Your Paper Quest, because that's part of the deal. Basically, with every sponsorship, unless you specifically ask, most of the time you can't share how much you've earned, and I don't think that's particularly fair game to Ryan and the team. So I can tell you that I'm happy with the amount that I was paid for the sponsorships, and I also think the sponsorship was a really good experience. I think working with Ryan's really nice, and he actually has sent through 3 more free boxes to give out to my subscribers. So I had 1 previously and I now have 4 to give away to you guys, which is really cool. I think Ryan is an absolute stand-up guy, and I think that whoever gets these book boxes is going to be really happy with them. Speaking of happy, I'm very happy with my most popular video from last month, which had over 500 views, and that was my Kindle buyer's guide. I knew that video would do well because I personally have watched loads of those kinds of videos, and I really like, I don't know about you guys, I really like those videos that are like a 45-minute rambling gadget review where the reviewer will just kind of talk a lot about like personal anecdotes about how they use the device, different reasons why they would or wouldn't use things. And that's what I tried to make. I tried to make something that was more targeted to me specifically, more targeted to people who are big readers. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. The least popular video of the month was the Eyes of Empire review. I believe that is probably just because Hybrid Helix is not a popular series. It should be because it's excellent, but it was a weaker video. I think the actual video was great, and once you've read the book, well, once you've read the previous books, you should watch it. But I do understand if you haven't read any of those books, you don't want to watch that video. Fifth book in a series. Each book in a series kind of is diminishing returns on the previous ones, so, you know. Let's talk about next month on the channel. And by next month, I mean this month because it's already October. So what am I going to be doing about the viewer submitted books? So I talked about this earlier. My plan is to catch up on my reading. I was going to read Sword of Kaigen as well, but I think that's going to be too much, and that'll probably take me the whole of October to read 2 Wheel of Time books, Sword of Kaigen and Dirge of Cascius, and also finish Return to Edan. So my plan currently is finish Return to Edan, start Dirge for Cascius. If I like it, finish it. If I don't like it, put it to one side and start reading Wheel of Time. Read 2 of those books, possibly Orbital by Samantha Harvey, not sure. And then once I've finished those Wheel of Time books, I will be spinning the wheel and building a month-long reading list. So I'm going to pick 4 books from the wheel of submitted books that came in. I don't think any of you guys broke the rules, so nobody nominated their own book as a self-pub author, and nobody nominated a book that wasn't SFF. A few people did nominate books that I had already read, and that's understandable because I don't expect you to study the channel before you recommend me a book. But looks like I'll probably be reading The First Law because so many people put it in the hat, and also maybe a Realm of the Elderlings book because Mare nominated it 3 times. And I think she said she was going to do it again, which is very funny. If you would like to put nominations in, I haven't closed the link. That will also be in the description. So please do give it a shot. Let me know some books that I should be reading that I've not read yet. If you have seen me read a series also and you want me to carry on in that series, just put the series name and I'll read the next book. What else is there to discuss? So after I finish that TBR, I think that I'm going to keep the randomizer running. So I have seen a lot of TBR games. I enjoy watching Abby Salter play the TBR games she plays, where she'll have like a little board game and it will give you prompts and you have to find a book to fit that prompt. I don't know whether I have that much energy in my brain to come up with something like that, but I could do a like spinning wheel. So Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews does this for his Patreon, and that's what I'm going to do for my subscriber TBR. Is I'm going to just spin the wheel and read, as I said, 4 books. And if I finish those 4 books within the 30 days and I have more time, I will spin again. I'll put it on shorts or something, maybe, I don't know. But I'm going to do a spin the wheel for all of the books that I read for an entire month. And it'll probably be somewhere in kind of mid to late October that I do the spin. I might put up a video that's like, this is what I'm going to read and this is what I need to read before I do the spinning. And as I said, in future, I'm going to start doing some more randomizing stuff with my books because I feel like I'm leaving stuff behind. And things like I wanted to read Black Tongue Thief, right? But I've just not had a spot where it'd fit. Or like I've been carrying on with previous stuff, or I haven't finished a previous month's TBR and had to catch up. Monthly TBRs might actually not be the best thing for me. Maybe I want to be doing a spin on the wheel every single time I finish a book. That could be fun. I don't know. We're a channel in progress here. We're a community in progress. And I really enjoy making these videos for you guys. I love all the reading that I'm doing. I can't wait to read more Return to Adan. I feel like I need to have a cup of coffee in the afternoon so I'm less tired in the evenings, because I am not sitting down to read that bad boy when I'm tired, because it's so cool, and I don't really want to like skim or miss a bit, you know, which I might do if I was tired. So yeah, that's been a long-winded 35-minute video on the month of September and my plans for the future. So I hope that you have enjoyed it, and if you have, give this video a like and let me know what you've read this month. What are your favourite books? What's your favourite video I made? What books are you going to submit to the list if you haven't done it already? Drop that down in the comments down below. I would love to chat with you guys. I know I'm probably like a month behind on comments, but as I said, I've just not had that much free time. My work has been a bit mental recently. I was working till 8 o'clock one night last week. So yeah, crazy time at the moment, and I will reply to every comment eventually, but you know, I just need to sit down and do it. Got to get one of those days where I've got time for it. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Please do comment. I see them all, even if I don't reply. And of course, subscribe to the channel. Every little subscription helps grow this little community. We're almost at 1,050, which is really cool, and I would love to get to that, maybe even to 1,100 by the end of October. That would be really cool. Thanks so much for watching. I'll speak to you tomorrow.